Sorry. I have no gavel. Sorry. All right. We are going to call this July 21st, 2025 regular Board of Education meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. The mission of Montabella Community Schools is to prepare our students to be successful in a changing global society. Erica, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to jump into reports. And Miss Gina Hatter, we're going to start with you.
Sharon, slide. So I'm presenting tonight, just sharing a little bit. I know it's late, but in March, we took our Spanish trip to share a little bit of that. And also hopefully plan to take another one, 2027. That is this
Whoops.
the first one?
Did I not start at the beginning?
So I plan to present, immediately after the trip, but, just one thing and then another in June. And so I relived all of this. I went through and relived all of this weekend. In hindsight, in the moment, it was kind of stressful and a lot of organizing. And you'll see the look on my face in a picture where I didn't know if I was going to make it to the end, but we did. So quick recap of, we did England, France, and Spain. We were 9, almost 10 days, 16 students that ranged all the grades, 9 through 12, that had all taken through Spanish too. So that was kind of the base requirement. 7 adults had also volunteered to join us. So parents joined in on that, which was really great to have that adult to student ratio a little higher than normal. And then 3 of us chaperones who were school employees, myself, Chris Kelsey, and the partnered with Explorica, World Strides, and then once we got into England, landed, we met our tour director, who was Jessica San Pedro, and she was absolutely fabulous, like the best you could ask for. And I've heard, like, over the course of the trip, stories from other tour directors, not so good with the pairing of the, the group and the director. We were just perfect. The kids loved her. They started calling her Aunt Jess and all of the things. So did a lot of immersive culture and historical experiences, a lot of art. They did have an experience with being able to use their language. That was the whole purpose of it, even though we only had about a day and a half in Barcelona. We did a lot of wandering through the city. So got into London. I'll go through this kind of quickly. I didn't include all of the 800 pictures that are in our photo circle that we shared. We did an overnight flight from Grand Rapids to, well, not overnight from Grand Rapids, but we ended up getting into London early in the morning. None of us slept on the plane. It was going to be a long day. I'm glad we didn't know that that's how it was, because we just powered through it. So we landed, we met Jess. She took us immediately to the hotel. We did a city tour on foot. So got to see lots of the city sites right off the bat. National Gallery is the next slide. So we did get to go right away to the National Gallery and see some art, learn how to get on the tube as a group of 26 people was quite a learning experience. Food highlight of the day was fish and chips. So every night we got to have some kind of local food at a local restaurant. So usually a family-owned restaurant that's set up to seat a big group. So lots of small places that we crammed into to get some local food. Good. Next, day 3 was London again. So we ended up meeting this lovely woman who was our guide for the day. She's a Londoner, her name is Brenna. And found out that she was likely in one or two of the Harry Potter movies as an extra witch. So the kids really loved that kind of lore behind that. We did a lot of bus tour driving around the city, seeing some of the sites, but then the highlight was going to Windsor Castle. She walked us through it. We learned about the history, about the fire that took out a big chunk of it. No pictures were allowed in Windsor Castle, of course, but on the outside, we got to enjoy some of that. And this is Corinna. She was very, very British, very opinionated. They absolutely ate it up. A couple more pictures of our day 2 in London. Of course, I don't know if anybody follows like the jacket potato food wagons in London are kind of a big deal. So we all had to have our potatoes. I had mine with tuna on it because that's a very British thing. I think Jeff just went kind of boring with bacon or something. And then outside of Windsor Castle, lots of good stuff there. It was very, very interesting to see how that's that culture. Bangers and mash. That was our traditional dinner that night. We got to walk around the city a little bit more, go down by the river, get a nice group shot. The weather was absolutely wonderful for us in London. You know, you think of rain all the time. We got sun all the time. And then Paris handed us the rain. So we got to move on to that. Yep, bangers and mash was our food of the day there. So day 4 was travel to Paris via the Channel. Very long train ride. The Channel is a super high speed train that gets you from England to France very quickly. It was stressful. Like there's so many people. It was very, very stressful, but she got us through. She did a good job of keeping us wrangled, getting us through customs, of course, and then onto the bus. Learning lesson of the day was Channel etiquette. We could not be loud, obnoxious high school students. We had to interact like we're travelers and keep it down. So that was fun, but it was a very long, long day and we needed a day of rest, so it came at the right time. So that was great. Once we got there, of course, pouring rain. Were we ready for that? Some of us were. Glad we had umbrellas. We did run into the Central Montcalm group for the second time once we were in Paris, and they did not have umbrellas. So we were prepared a little bit more than that. We did a quick walking tour of England, got to see a few sites, and then eat, and then our first glimpse of the Eiffel Tower, which wouldn't be our last. And then going into the next day was a lot more, a little bit better weather and a lot more sights. So we did the tour of Versailles, which if you aren't familiar with, Versailles is like a very expansive grounds and palace where everything is covered in gold. It's like very, very lavish and fancy. And so we have a great guide for that. She walked us through. There's no way we could have seen all of the grounds. I know Mel Selig because she, I guess, rented a golf cart to see most of it. So that was kind of fun to try to get to see all of it. We just didn't have all of the time, but had a great tour there. And then back to kids' favorite meal of the whole trip was called Flammkuchen, which is like a pizza. It was like an Alsatian pizza. So that was a really great meal. To top off the night, river tour, highlight of the whole trip probably. Seeing Paris from the river at night. It's just got to go on the next one. So just can't capture the pictures. They've started just every hour on the hour doing 5 minutes of twinkle lights on the Eiffel Tower. It used to be longer, but the electric bill, I guess, was too much for the city. Now the Olympics are over, no one cares. So that was really beautiful to be able to see. So our river tour left like right on the hour and came back on that one right there by the tower. And it was so gorgeous. I just want to point out, I don't have a picture here. There's Kelsey eating her leftover pizza. Day 6, let's see, the Louvre. Not what we wanted it to be, a bazillion people. This is the Mona Lisa, and that's as close as we got. A couple of kids did weasel in a little closer, but we did get to see the Monets and Van Goghs and all of the good things. Food highlights, some kids had their first French McDonald's. That was what they were dying to have. A lot of people bought macaroons, great fun. Had a little free time for shopping in the afternoon and wandered around this area where the Louvre was. But again, really great art, but so many people. So we broke up into kind of smaller groups and made our way through. So I would like to try to do that again. More Paris. So Jessica took us on a hike. Paris is a lot more hilly than I think we all know. So we went up to an area called Montmartre, which is where like all the famous movies that are ever filmed in Paris are usually at. It's where all the artists are set up selling their work. And it's a hike. It's a really big hike and it's very steep. And then beyond that is yet another steep hike to the Basilica of Sacré-Cœur. So we hiked up to that, and then some even went higher and went up to the top of the basilica. So that was quite a fun day for getting your steps in. A good one. Lots of fresh water to in Paris, which I think is not everybody expected that. But this was a really great part of the city. It was not as many people, a little bit easier to enjoy, a little bit more what we think of Paris. And there's the height. I did accidentally come down on the wrong side of the basilica and had to go back up and then back down.
Ooh.
So fun thing though. Yep, and there's another there to show. So hard to notice it, but. So then day 7, we were to Spain and it was so much warmer. Again, another long train ride. It was about 6 hours and 45 minutes. Kids did great with that. We got through the transfer just fine. Beautiful, beautiful weather. We got to wander around the main part of the city. Jess wowed us with her language again. She switched back and forth through all of the countries very, very well. Even threw in some Italian with some people that we had met. So she gave us, coming into both countries, France and Spain, she gave us like a quick, okay, I'm going to test you. How do you say this? So we all had a little bit behind us, or a little refresher. We had a great tapas dinner this night. So the kids got it's a little bit of basic tapas. So like some deep fried cheese, they loved it. So it's comfort food, good weather though. Some skewers, some peppers. And then this was another night where we did run into the Central Montcalm group and didn't get a picture with them because we were going at different times, but they were kind of right in step with us in timeline wise. Last day in Barcelona, we did guided sightseeing. So we got to learn a lot about Antoni Gaudi, who is an architect in Spain. If you know about the church that is being built, La Sagrada Familia is a big church that has been being worked on for years and years and years. And then when the architect died, it kept being built and it's still not done. So they say maybe another 10 years. So I told my daughter, in 10 years, I think we should go to Spain. That on our list. I want to see it done. So we did get to see a lot of the city on this day. More architecture, lots of sunshine, lots of sunburns. So this is a good example of the Gaudi. This is a park that's in one of the upper areas of Barcelona. Lots of mosaic tiles, things like that. It's a very unique kind of architecture. So it was fun to see. It really stands out. This is a great picture, kind of capturing Jess. She was a lot of personality and kids really liked her. So that was kind of wrapping up our tour. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to expand on any of this and try to give you like the quick snapshot of what we had going on.
Like a great trip.
It was. Flight time, no disasters. Everybody made it back.
That's always good.
Didn't lose anybody. Had some air tags for a couple. So,
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll move on. Shane.
Before we do the other side, constitutional changes as Shelley told us, most of you probably did not Gina's idea on the trip. We made at the last minute. Clear. And, so the MSAC, a lot of the things that are changes in here are actually athletic, not academic. The yellow stuff, some of it is just wording pieces. Some of it is just clarifications, and you got some timeframes in terms of adding new schools. This is the one, I don't, do we call this the Montabella clause? Clause?
I thought it was the Shelley Millis clause.
Shelley Millis clause. So if we have questions about some of these schools and what's going on, there was some clarification and language put in there because the format before wasn't very inclusive of how to do everything. So this is very specific on if you have concerns about another school, the process you go through. So all that yellow is strike throughs, just getting rid of some of that stuff. Just the time frame, just clarification, 1 week mean a lot of different things. Same thing with days, meaning business days. So again, it's all part of that appeals process, making sure there's some clarification. We're gonna get in pretty quickly here to dollar stuff. So MSEC passes clarified up there, just so that they're not being abused. So valid for a person, have to have an adult, kids were showing up with those passes, they're not supposed to. And then there's just clarification for the football in the schools. And then some starting times that were tweaked a little bit. Nothing major there. We get into the fact that officials, there aren't many of them, and so they are depending more and more money to increase costs for officials for different games.
What was it last year? Do you remember? I couldn't remember either. I didn't know how much it went up.
Andrew can tell you that.
Yeah, $10 is sticking in my head, but I don't know
Okay.
if that's.
So it's not
I would say
horrible.
that, but I didn't want to be wrong.
But when you think of the number of officials we hire throughout the year,
Right.
it does add up a little bit, especially like football is 5. I think there's 5.
Yeah.
5 officials for one game at the varsity
And
level.
the problem with this is that the pool is just not very large.
No.
And they do a very good job of playing leagues off from each other. So this gets us more competitive in line with other leagues around us. So hopefully we should be able to keep some in place. Although this one,
This is baseball, softball.
oh, baseball, softball. I'm gonna say we're gonna get into the Montabella. It wasn't our clause; it was the basketball thing that happened. That's
Westerberg Sacred Heart.
that's the root secret. This is related to that, though. It's about getting games wrapped up for league standings. Allowing both the batting cage, not there.
The big change in basketball is the divisions.
So we're splitting into 2 divisions. You'll play everybody in your division twice. You'll play a crossover game with each person. Opens up a little more non-league for us.
Which they didn't spell out the division part in this anywhere, because after I saw the divisions, I was looking for like a
Who's
little
in it?
bit more. Well, I think I know who's in it, like they split it 127, right? Like one side or the other.
It's geographic.
Yeah. But like there was no like explanation about the divisions. It just said something about divisions, and then that was like that part was there, but there was no further explanation about it.
In the Constitution.
Yeah.
I don't.
Clarifies who goes first on
Yeah.
7th or 8th grade, on which
is
weeks.
something we've been doing for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I didn't see that basketball one.
There wasn't anything. It said tie head to head and something else for the tie in football or in basketball.
We had an issue this year where canceled games didn't get made up in time. We debate about rankings in the league.
I think there was, but I think it was further.
I
feel
think
like it
it's
was further
in a
down.
different section for some reason. I think it might be awards.
Oh,
That's where
yeah.
I saw it.
Pretty sure I just said both of them.
It was, yeah, I remember reading it.
Just clarification about what we're gonna move back and forth between 8 and 11 and football. A couple of schools went to 11 this year on a late game.
Very late in the game.
It was springtime when they announced, wasn't it?
But this is Regina, clarification on shot put in distance. I think just to move things along a little quicker for that. Usually the event that takes from recognition for baseball, which
There's your tiebreaker for awards. I'm assuming that meant conference champion.
yeah. So we had teams that were trying to make up, or were being asked to make up games on Saturday before districts. And they played on Monday in districts. So they weren't interested in making those up, so they didn't do them any good, and then there was a question mark about how that impacted.
More about cancellations.
So
More about the certificates. Same closet.
Okay,
All right, so now you're into academics.
yeah, there's not as much there. It's very minor. They were just grading from 75 to 100.
Let's say the esports one. Looked like.
We ran esports for the first time this year as a league competition. There were some things that worked out very well, and there was some clarifications or changes they wanted to make, which that's a lot of what's in there. And then the other thing they talked about doing is they thought there was a big demand among students to add Madden as another game, and that might get more people involved. So they clarified some of the other games that were there before and how they're done. And then they put a whole bunch in there about if we're going to do Madden, here's how many schools have to offer an esports team, and then just how Madden will be used. I think Madden will be very popular, but I think the hard part is that some of those people who play Madden might not be able to do after school practices, because a lot of the kids also are athletes. Actually, they didn't want to lose those, they didn't want to, so they just added them on. Doing Madden. Oh, I'm sure there are schools that are, it's just our league is. So the first year we started with two that they thought were, let's say, simple, a lot of kids would do them, they don't have to worry about like shoot 'em up versions of games, because those are pretty big fun things. I think that's it.
I was gonna say, I think that was it, but I wasn't sure.
I think Mad's been played by other schools.
All right, thank you. End of your data, Shelley.
Yeah, I put this in your packet, so I'll just quickly kind of run through the presentation. But this is just some end of the year data. I've been doing this for the last several years now, just to kind of, and you'll see the number of years, so we can review some of the data to see if there's any improvement or changes in that. So the first one here is enrollment data, Montabella highlighted in blue across there. The percentage that I do at the end is basically, there's 10 years represented here. So this is the percentage of students that we've maintained over that 10-year period. So 98%
was a pretty stable enrollment data. And you can tell that we are the top in the ISD as far as maintaining our enrollment across there. Always like to say a little asterisk with Vestaburg. I only include their people that are on campus in Vestaburg. They charter a virtual school, and I don't include those numbers in that data. Here are transfers out. So we had the fewest amounts of transfers out this year that we have in the last 4 years here. And these would be kids that leave after the first day of school until the end of the school year, which is good. On the flip side of that, we had the most kids transfer out for reason of homeschool than we have seen in past years. Student growth data. So this is NWA. And this is looking at the growth that the students made. So it's not necessarily that they're high achieving, low achieving. It's geared towards where you're at. So I might have to gain 10 points, but Tim might only have to gain 4 because he's, higher achiever, and you're not going to see that type of growth. So it's geared towards it.
No one's ever called me that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So this will show you the last 3 years of that spring to spring growth. And then 24-25 has the actual numbers of how many for there. Our goal that is in our school improvement plan is 60% of our students reaching that goal by the end of next year. You can see that we are still a ways away from that. So this is the elementary numbers. And then our junior, senior high numbers for reading and math. Still a lot of room to go to get to that 60%. Now, remember, this is NWA. The data is only as good as what the kids give us. So if they're not giving 100% on their tests, we don't know. So we can only go by what they give us. In particular, our junior class, there is no way that this is their top performance. There's just no way. You can't tell me that I think later on it showed like only 19 kids were even average. So this is looking more at achievement. So again, looking at the NWA, but looking at how many kids are low average, average, high average, and high. So what we're trying to see is in that last column is average to high. So we want kids to be achieving, because this is how they're actually, like, the achievement of that is average to high. And again, this is nationwide compared, but you'll see that how the percentage of our kids that we have in that average to high range is that 40 to 50 range for most part. We do have a couple of, sellouts at 60 and 70%. And there's my lovely junior class I just talked about, where we only have 19%. There's no way that they're quite that low. They might not be a high achieving group, but they are not 19% at average or above. So again, there's only so much you can take from the data as well. And this is whole buildings. So elementary at 51 and junior, senior high at 53. This is reading. And then this looks at it, again, that average to high over time. And so you can look at kindergarten across the row to see what each kindergarten class has done over the last 5 years. And you can follow the colors. And so this is the same groups of kids that would come down. Across the board, you don't see much movement at all. A lot of stagnant data. Where they start is where they end. We aren't seeing as much growth as what we would like to see.
Except for them 11th graders.
Yeah. And so this is the same thing for math. Again, the average to high numbers over here, 57 and 51% are then that average to high. Same thing here over time. You can look at it by grade level across, or the color spans that go down. Similar, I don't think there's anything that we can say, oh, we're doing really, you can see a big jump here or whatnot. It's very similar from year to year. This is one more piece of data that we look at the elementary, and this is Acadience. Acadience is a reading test. This is done individually with each student, where it's they read. And so these are benchmarks. So again, we're talking achievement. This is the kids that are at where they should be for that grade level. And then these are the 3 different times that we took those tests throughout the year. So looking at that end of the year, our goal is to see these numbers at 60%. We are not there yet. And there's a comparison by those grade levels with Acadians. Again, if you look at, for instance, this green one here, it's very similar every year, not a whole lot of movement. So still some places for us to work on. Attendance data. So I break that down as the number of absences for each of these categories, and then kind of give you a percentage of our kids that are missing days. We have a lot of absences. Junior, senior high, the same way. We have 34 kids at the junior, senior high that missed 30 or more days. That's a lot of missed school. Here's a breakdown over some years. So I always like to start with 18-19. So that's pre-COVID. And the attendance since COVID has just never recovered. And I'm not sure if we're the only district. I would guess that we are not. But we went through a period of time where we basically told people it was okay to not come to school, because that's what we did for school. And we just haven't recovered and got that back to where school is a priority, I guess, in going with that. But you can see the percentages haven't changed much over the last few years. And then these numbers at the bottom, the state identifies or kind of categorizes chronic absenteeism as 10 or more days. And so I gave the percentages of those so that you can really see it there. So the elementary, 31% in 18-19, this year, 47. So almost a 20% increase in the amount of kids that are in that chronically absent. Same thing at the junior, senior high. I love sharing things, but 40% to 57. So again, almost that 20% increase in the. Now, 57 is good compared to 66, which we were in 21 and 22, but still there. And I will say with attendance data, it's not just kids. There are times that we have staff attendance issues too. We have a lot of absences by staff as well. And so that's just lost instructional time on both sides of there. Discipline data. So this one is the elementary. This breaks it down by month and the number of days that we had school in that month, the number of referrals, and then this is the average number of referrals per school day. Now, Brittany, correct me if I'm wrong, but the elementary records both minors and majors. So these are incidences that could be taking place just in the classroom that the teacher manages, not all a major issue that a kid got sent out. But what we've got, looks like November might have been our high month. Here's that same data for the junior, senior high. This little guy is really in the way. Junior, senior high is just those that have been removed from the class.
October's a real rough month.
Yeah, October, November seem to be
And November's a
some
short
rest
month. I
Yeah.
mean, there's 3 days, 4 days in there that we're not here in November.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So still some work to be done there, but here's a comparison of the number of referrals, the percentage of kids that had no referral. So here's a celebration. 51% of our elementary kids did not get one referral all year long. 33% of our junior, senior high kids did not get that. And even a 1 to 3, 1, 2, or 3 referrals for an entire school year, we're not worried about this. 26%, 31%. Look at the number of kids that we have in those two categories. So although the discipline data looks like we have, oh my God, it's not a lot of kids. I mean, if you look down to here, these kids that are getting 20 plus, I'm sure Brittany could name these 21 kids off without hesitation. And Shane could come close to listing those 24 kids off without hesitation. Yes. So it's not a lot of our kids. It's a small group that is repeatedly being in that situation. So obviously still something we want to work on. But sometimes we have to remind ourselves of the number of kids that we have that are doing the things that they're supposed to be doing. And sometimes that gets lost in the day-to-day of dealing with that too. And this is our reports of bullying. And so these are actually confirmed cases of bullying that took place. We get a lot of reports of them, but these are the ones that are actually confirmed.
I loved seeing that one in the junior senior event. That's awesome.
Yeah, we get a lot of back and forth, which by definition then becomes not a bullying situation if both people are
Engaging.
name calling and it's back and forth, and that's not technically bullying. We still have a lot of cases of name calling and
But they saw the data
mistreatment.
before.
Yes,
Yeah.
as you saw before. But anyway. Any questions about any of that? Went through it kind of fast, but you guys have all the information in your packets as well. Is there any other data that you guys wish that you would like to see that we can make sure that we pull in the future for you?
I think this is good. All right, we'll move on to communications. Back to you, Shelley.
Yeah, just a couple of things. We have one additional resignation on your board agenda that I did not reflect in my communication to you. So it actually happened last week while I was on vacation and we got it on there, but it is somebody that we hired in June and has now resigned before ever really working a day with us. But because we approved her in June, we need to accept her resignation now in July. So that was at the elementary. So they're one down right now that they are working on trying to get that filled. Funding is still a big unknown for this school year, both at the federal level and the state level. Lots of different things out there. Nobody really knows the impact of the federal bill that was passed because some of that required some push down to the states. And nobody knows how the states are going to handle that and what that's going to mean. There are some federal funds that have been frozen for schools that were supposed to be distributed, started in July, and they were not. There's a big push to kind of get some of those released. For us personally, it's a very small portion that are those ones that are frozen right now. But we're kind of in a sit and wait and see right now to see what's going to happen as far as both federal funding and state funding. The really, really good news for us is that we are sitting on a nice fund balance, so we won't have to make mid-year cuts or whatnot in order to be able to survive. If our Title I funding, for instance, from the federal level were to disappear, we have enough at-risk carryover to cover all of those employees for the year. So it wouldn't be a matter of, we're coming to somebody mid-year and saying, sorry, you've allowed, your job is gone for the rest of the year, which I had to do at one point in my career and was not a fun process. So the good news is we're going to an okay financial spot to deal with those. The bad news is we still know absolutely nothing as to what's going to happen with the funding. So we'll sit and see, and hopefully we'll start to find that out. The state has to have a budget by October 1. So we will be a month or so into our school year probably. And from what I'm hearing, it will probably be right before October 1 before that state budget is determined. We've been talking about a little bit of remaining bond funds. We did some water softener and some LED lights, including some LED lights in here over the summer. A couple of other things that are on the agenda that we are looking at is baseball, softball fence replacement. So we have all sorts of, Jeff has to do a lot of surgery on it throughout the year to try and fill in holes and whatnot. That fencing may be original when those fields were first put in. So it's probably time. So we're looking at getting that as whether or not it was still there. I know we've moved the fence in since then, but I think it's still the original fencing. So it's been here a little while. So we're looking at that and a wind/privacy screen for the front of the elementary playground. So on that black fencing that we have up front, getting a wind screen that will go around the front. So it kind of not only blocks the wind, but it also adds some privacy for our kids that are out there since we're near the road and parking lot and whatnot. Strategic planning. So we approved strategic planning. I actually have the first meeting with the facilitator tomorrow. She is going to need at some point an hour with the board to kind of go through some of your priorities and whatnot. We can add that like before a meeting. We can have a separate meeting. What is everybody's preference on that?
I'm fine.
Yeah, either way.
Either way.
Probably the easiest is to put the day of the meeting, just
Okay.
because I try to not schedule myself to work on those
Okay.
days. Otherwise, I'm kind of up in the air on my schedule.
They talk like the process might start in August, but I don't know when the actual meeting with the board comes in that process. She's looking at November for the retreat. So after I speak with her, then I'll have some more information to get back to you guys as far as like a day, trying to find a day in November that works. It would be a Saturday, all day event.
Not deer season, probably.
Yes, early November would probably be the best, right? Is that what you're
Yep,
telling me?
yep.
Okay. And then a couple of reminders, by the time we meet again, school will be just about ready to go. So our first day of school is on August 19th. Our next board meeting, I think, is the day before, maybe. And then open house on August 14th from 4:30 to 6. We will once again be doing hot dogs for families. And so if the board is available to help on that day, that would be great. Just another opportunity for people to know who our board members are.
I won't be here on open house. I'm gonna be on vacation.
Okay,
I put it up.
perfect. I'll try and remind you as it comes closer. Perfect.
Actually, Cindy put it on my account.
There you go.
I just saw this. You may want to add it to your account since you're in town.
All right. I don't see any forms for community input, so we're gonna move right down to discussion and tax rates and potential opportunities.
Yes, so we talked a little bit last month about how our tax rate is decreasing this year. So this is a bond, the bond tax rate. So if I can make this any bigger, let me try. Because those numbers are really small. So this past tax year, our taxpayers paid 5.42 on our bond. That will reduce down to 4.53, starting with next year. And as you can see, after a couple of years, it then takes another big jump down. And once again, the reason for that is because the taxable values have increased. And so we are collecting more money from our bond than what we need to pay it off. So then that rate decreases as that goes. So this is also a good opportunity for us to talk about whether or not it's a time in which we want to maintain that tax rate and do other projects or other things that might come up. So for the board, selling a bond to the community when it is a neutral tax impact to them is much, much, much more likely to pass than to come with an increase. So our financial people ran some numbers of what that might look like if we were to do that. The way that they have it set up is, and it obviously this is just for an example situation, we can set it up any way that we would like. We can decide that we don't want to do this because I don't know if it's the right time to go to the community and ask about a bond coming off of one not too long ago. The way this is set up is 3 different series. So you would get money in 27, 29, and 31. Depending on which way you went. The first column here is if we had the bond end at the exact same time that it is now, so not adding any more years on. 4.6 million, 3 different times for a total of $13.8 million to do some projects. This next column is the same thing of those 3 different times, but now we're pushing it out some extra years. So now you're getting 5.7 million each time for a total of $17.1 million to do some projects. Like I said, I don't know if now is the right time to go out to community and ask for that, coming off of, you know, a non-homestead that didn't pass real easily. But I will tell you this, we have a space issue. We have a kindergarten class that we may have to add a section to, and I've got no classrooms to place that class in.
When would we have to make that decision?
This is assuming a November, August 26 or May 27 election. Yes. And it might not be the right time. And that's it. But so we also have our 5th grade class at our elementary this year has 2 sections. We're using every room that we have. No other grade level has only 2 sections. So we're going to have another room that we're going to be in need of potentially. And we talked about last year, our junior, senior high, that we have at least two teachers that are on carts that don't have their own classrooms. So both buildings have a little bit of a space issue. Now we'll make it work. But that's something just to keep in mind that, I mean, you saw our enrollment, it's not going down. I mean, it's staying pretty steady, and maybe we wait and see what that looks like this year. But this kindergarten incoming class, as of today, we have 71.
Wow. That's awesome.
We haven't, I mean, that's a large class, especially when you're talking about kindergartners in a classroom. That's a lot of littles in one room. So, I mean, I'm not saying that, hey, let's do this, let's run out and do it. I'm just putting it on your radars to start thinking about that we have an opportunity where it could work for us. And we do have an issue for space, but I honestly don't know if
So
it's the right
iffy.
time either.
What's it take for us to say we're gonna put it on August 26th or 2026 fall? I mean, we've got to secure bids and contractors and.
You don't do all of that for the bond, to actually put it on the ballot. So you would work with
Necessarily.
Yep, you'd either have to work with an architect or a construction management company, which will help us through the process, but they'll get an idea of, okay, this is the avenue you want to go with the 13 million. Here's what you can do with 13 million. You know, here's our needs, here's what we can do. Or they come in and do a needs assessment and kind of give you an idea on that. And then they gamble because they put in that time, and if it passes, then they get it. If it doesn't pass, they don't get any money. So they put in the time to do that. So we don't have to actually go through the whole bidding process, but we do have to get some other pieces in play first.
And if I remember, that was quite a process as far as working with them to understand our wants and our needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like we could pull it together in a couple months. I mean, it was
So the good thing now is that we just came off a bond project, so our buildings don't have as many needs as what they did before. So, you know, as far as evaluating roofs and HVAC systems and stuff, a lot of that has been replaced. So there wouldn't be as much there. I'm sure there are other areas besides the classrooms that, you know, hey, this would be nice, you know. But you got to have time to vet some of that with your community before you kind of put some of that out there. You know, I don't know. I honestly don't know what the best answer is for us right now. But I did at least I thought it was prudent of me to at least let you know about the opportunity with that dip. And because once it goes down, trying to vote something in that makes your tax, you know, that go up is much harder. I wasn't thinking anything about the sinking fund. That is another option that we could do. Is that you can, so Greenville just passed a sinking fund. And they planned it out. This is what we're gonna do in the first so many years, this many years, and whatnot. So you could do it as a sinking fund rather than a bond. And kind of say this, or sinking fund for 10 years, it brings in this much money. This is what we're gonna use it for. And be able to do it that route, which will be a smaller number of years.
Were you thinking of trying to get the second?
I'm not thinking anything. That's your decision as a board to determine whether or not that was something that you wanted to pursue. All I knew is that when our non-homestead didn't pass, we weren't interested in that. We just wanted to make sure that the other, that the non-homestead got back. Yep.
You think we should try it?
Right now. Coming off of just passing that non-homestead, I think, we need a little retreat. Yep.
I think people will.
Mhm.
That makes more sense for us if we consider the bond. At least you be here before us,
Mhm.
especially if we've got a fund that sustainable.
We still do have some money in the sinking fund, that sits there. I mean, there's only certain reasons or things that you can spend that on. So, I want to say it's about $1 million in our sinking fund that we, can use for some of those. But as we found out when we started looking at a couple of rooms at the junior, senior high, $1 million will not build you a couple of classrooms.
And you can use that on new construction, right?
You can use the sinking fund on new construction.
Was our sinking fund usually garner?
It was bringing in about $400,000 a year. It was a 1.5 mil.
Okay, any other questions? If not, we will move down to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion passed. I need a motion to approve the action agenda as presented.
You got it.
Jeremy,
You got it.
going with Jeremy.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion pass. A motion to approve the personnel recommendations as presented.
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion pass. A motion to approve the Montabella Junior Senior High handbook changes as presented in June. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion pass. Do we need to talk about this before we do this? So we have names to put in?
Sure. So
Currently, it is myself.
Ellie is the one that's been doing it, representative on the Montcalm County School Board Association.
I'm willing to stay.
Work with everybody.
So moved. It's easy to vote on right there.
Let me read it first. Please hold. Motion to adopt the resolution naming Ellie Foster as Montabella's representative and Ivan Rennie as alternate for Montcalm Community School Board Association meetings.
I'm still moved.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Yes. Well, a couple of them we've had we have gone to the, to Stanton. Yes, mostly virtual. Of all those,
Might be a mistake there.
all those opposed. So what you're saying is I can't miss any?
You got it.
Motion to approve the contract with Duncan Lake Speech Therapy to provide virtual speech services for the 2025-2026 school year.
So I kind of let you know our situation that we're in with speech. We went from needing one to needing two, so we have no speech therapists right now. So we're going to combine with these two contracts, some virtual services and some on-site services contracted through some contracting companies because we had two applicants who both took jobs before we could even offer them anything.
Nice. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion pass. Motion to approve the contract with, is it Elevate?
Elevated.
Elevate Therapy Company to perform on-site services for the 2025-2026 school year. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion pass. A motion to approve the contract with Jennifer Soka to perform curriculum-related services for the 2025-26 school year.
Or give it time.
So there were some questions on this in regards to the type of work that she would be doing and whatnot. So most of it really, I would say, is like a behind the scenes thing. There's some stuff online with online grant applications and sites that the MDE require us to put our school improvement plan and whatnot in. Nobody in this district has done this before. Not saying that we can't figure it out, but nobody has done that before. And so somebody that has that knowledge would help us a little bit in that regard. And then she's also going to meet with Shane, Mike, and I on a monthly basis to kind of make sure that we don't drop the ball on MTSS. So not really what you would think of as your typical curriculum duties, as far as like not going to be integrated with the staff or anything like that. It's really more behind the scenes.
Pressure off our end.
It will. Yep.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Motion pass. And we will adjourn at 6:28 PM.